The more that you catch your negative thoughts, the more you're going to be able to assimilate this into all aspects of your life, and it's going to improve the entire environment that you always bring to everyone.
Build the environment that you want to play in, right? Build the team that you want to play on. Build the energy and excitement in a room that you want to walk into.
For a law firm, you're going to have different teams, right? And it's not like this team's against this one. You know, you're all doing the same stuff and you're collaborating. Collaboration is the answer to what happens as a result of positive energy. Hey everybody, Todd Burnham with Phil McCarthy for Athletes at Law. Today we're going to be talking about the concept of focused energy. Focused energy, Phil.
Focused.
Let's go.
Which is awesome. When I was coaching some youth teams, kids would always come to practice with a ton of energy, right? It was like their favorite part of the day.
Yeah.
Right? So they came in with a ton of energy. But focused energy is something different. To set them sometimes, we would start the first drill. I'd see them using all that energy, all that excitement, all that giddiness. And then I would see a really goofy, sloppy play. Mm-hmm. And that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about enthusiasm and focus for excellence, right?
Right.
So I would have to say to them, to reset that play, the words I would use is, hey, if we're going to play goofy, we're going to have to play the goofy teams.
Right.
If we play at the top of our game, we get to play the great teams, right?
Yep.
So setting up the mindset around how we play with energy is something that's really important at work and on fields.
Well, and the focused energy, right? And I love that. You know, I was talking to our marketing guy, Anthony, earlier, and he was talking about his daughters and how they're just really focused, right? And that they're going from different levels of skating, from kind of like the goofy, silly stuff to the more advanced where it's more serious, right?
Yeah.
And so you have different players at that secondary level, right? And different parents. And you have different players and parents at the goofy level, which it's not bad. It's just goofy.
Right.
Right? And that could be a different path to do something different, like go into arts.
That's where it starts.
That's 100%.
Right.
And you also know, like, oh, well, I don't want to be goofy. I want to be a killer, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a killer skater or whatever it is. So knowing that your environment just comes into play so big right there.
Well, I think it's an attitude piece. Enthusiasm is a part of our game. That's the attitude piece, right? The will. And it's, do we bring positive energy into the workplace? Do we support changes? Changes are annoying, right? Yeah. So getting change right means, hey, I have a positive regard for what we're trying to do because any change can make it better.
Yeah, that's a growth mindset, and it goes with an athlete's mindset. All of the things that we've talked about, you know, athletes at law, like what's from the field to the courtroom, it all comes down to how do you adapt to the situation when you have adversity? Are you looking at that as an opportunity? All of those things are different energy, right? And if you bring the right energy, then you're elevating everybody up.
Right.
It all comes up when you have the right energy and enthusiasm that's focused, right? And if you're focused on the team getting better, then you can't help but have a bigger role on that team. If you're focused on you getting better and with, you know, to the disregard of everybody else, how do you think that that's going to impact your individual performance overall in the long run? Right?
That's exactly right. So energy leads you, and enthusiasm leads you to the idea that this could get better. So you have an idea that a strategy for a case. We have a strategy or an offense or a timeout play or an end line play that we want to put into the game. As opposed to finding bother or indifference around that play, we find excitement. So one of three things can happen. We can challenge the idea. We can accept the idea, right? Or I think we could challenge it or accept it. Let me go there. All right, so we can challenge it or accept it. If we challenge it, we're saying, hey, it's still got to come out better, and then we're going to accept it. So there's a stage before that. So clarifying it is not being enthusiastic or not bringing positive energy. It's clarifying you get it better, fine. Once we've accepted the adaptivity, then we move from there.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yep. How we experience it in sport.
In our locker room, Dave Urick would say, nothing great has ever happened without enthusiasm. So again, if we're going to ask players to not worry about whose play it was, but to give energy to those plays, then we all have to, enthusiasm, energy, and the acceptance that sometimes it's not our play and sometimes it is. And whether it is or it isn't, we expect that we get a response from our peers and our teammates. So in other words, you make a great play on a field, the sideline's lighting up, your teammates are coming over to pick you up and high-five you. It's not what you've described in the past, where if you didn't make a play to somebody else and you scored the goal, they're not going to high-five you. That's where we see the opposite, the derailing behaviors around this. Enthusiasms like that, your goal's my goal.
Yeah.
Our wins come through each other, right? Coaching as well. The wins come through the players. So whether you're on the sideline, whether you have a giant role, whether you have a smaller role, that enthusiasm really excites a field, excites play.
You know, when a young attorney comes in and has their first win at trial, right?
Yeah.
I love witnessing, the environment that we have, because you're going to see everybody chime in. Boom, 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 boom. Great job, great job, great job, right?
Yes.
It's not someone in the back being like, well, that should have been me, right? Or something like that.
Yes.
It's the positive energy. It's not knocking the person down. It's really being in a place that you really want to be at and you believe in, right? And if you are in alignment, right? We talked about that. And if you have that positive energy, all of those things are controllable.
Yeah,
all of these
they
things
really
that we're
are.
talking about are like, as we get to the, getting the reps on one, right? For this, it's when I think about energy, it's checking that initial thought that you have when you're triggered,
Yep.
right? And at work, you're going to be triggered, right?
Yep.
And so if you can bring that positive energy instead of that negative thought that comes in and say, wait a second, ask the question, why am I thinking that way? Not that that you can catch the way you thought and then ask the question, why? Just start there and then start thinking more and more, because I think the more that you catch your negative thoughts, the more you're going to be able to assimilate this into all aspects of your life, and it's going to improve the entire environment that you always bring to everyone.
People are going to ask you more and more, you're going to find yourself in rooms where you're solving a game, not just playing a game, where your energy, attention, and focus around the excitement of what we're working on and the direction we might have to pivot to, that is an asset.
Yeah.
So, or there's a difficult conversation that needs to happen. People with enthusiasm and positive energy are more fit to deliver that type of news, because it's actually, they look at it like we're moving a player to a better space. We're moving a play to be more fitting to what's in front of us.
And I think that, when you have the positive energy and you have the alignment and you have the enthusiasm, the benefit to that is everybody on the team or in every pod feels the same way. Yeah. For a law firm, you're going to have different teams, right? And it's not like this team's against this one. You're all doing the same stuff and you're collaborating, right? Speed, we talked about last episode. Collaboration is the answer to what happens as a result of positive energy.
Yeah.
It's
a form of acknowledgement too. Like, hey, that was awesome. And you helped, and you helped, and you helped, and you're giving energy around good plays.
Yeah.
We're going to end up a lot more plays because we're going to fight for that positive energy. It feels really, really good, right?
And if you're able to do that as a leader and you're able to be in a situation where you're telling everybody by example, right, how you act and how you respond to positive things and negative things, that especially when times get tough or things are hard, how you respond to that is critical. In the beginning, I used to tell people, I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at the issue. It wasn't really positive. It's not really like, why am I yelling?
No, but there's a job for positive when things go, and energy when things go wrong as well, which is, hey, let's give that misstep, let's give that broken strategy some energy.
Yeah, well, and I think the piece for me that I came back with is always, what did I learn from that? Like, I'm not happy that I'm like saying that was my lesson to people. Like, it's okay that I'm yelling at you because I'm yelling at the issue. Like, that's just learning to be a better leader, right?
Yeah. That's right. Our delivery mechanism on this stuff really does matter, and the way people respond to it matters as well.
Yeah.
I think energy and excitement really help us solve two things that are always at work, and they're really difficult. We always work with them. They're frictions, uncertainty and change.
Yeah.
We talked about change, of course.
Yeah.
We approach change as, let's make this better. Life gets better when that gets better.
Yep.
And then the other side is uncertainty. If we know how people are going to act and move, then they're predictable. And if they're predictable, then uncertainty, that's a defense against uncertainty.
And that certainly applies to law firms. So what gets better when this gets better is certainty.
Yeah. Also, build the environment that you want to play in, right? Build the team that you want to play on. Build the energy and excitement in a room that you want to walk into. And what gets better, you get to play in that excitement.
That goes really, hand in hand with, talent versus work ethic, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like, the high talent, low trust bar.
Yeah.
I think what you're talking about here is we want people that have the right mindset, the right energy, more so than a killer skill set with lack of trust. All of these things go hand in hand. And so that is a skill set in of itself, is to have positive energy. That's something that adds value to every environment.
Right. And then one more thing would be, when you're playing hard, things aren't always going to go your way.
Yep.
When you press on it, you're going to fail, you're going to misstep, you're going to make a mistake, right? You're going to have a setback. And surrounding yourself with people that are positive and have forward regard is the other side of being able to and allowing yourself to go make big plays.
If you're in the wrong environment, I talk about this all the time. You're going to be the performance formula, right? You can be the most talented person, the most passionate, and the most consistent in your practice. But if you're on a team where coach hates you or you're not getting any playing time, it doesn't matter how good you are, right? Because that environment is the thing that's going to make you, come out of the ashes or just become a great player or someone that never reached their potential, right?
Yeah.
Because you were in a bad environment where you weren't taught the right way to practice.
Right.
Right.
That practice piece that allows you to be a player that is high value is really what the enthusiasm piece is all about. The most dangerous enthusiastic people are the well-practiced, well-focused, and they're confident in what they deliver. And then they bring this enthusiasm to bring other people along. If we can all work towards that end, man, we're going to love the things that come our way.
That reminds me that, a good way to end this is, ground balls win games.
Oh,
isn't that really like that's in, energy, enthusiasm, ground balls,
right?
That's the hard shit.
We
right?
love that concept of a ground ball, which is perhaps that is your penalty killer in hockey, right? That is a person who will set aside the personal pain of sometimes picking up that ground ball in order to get that ball into the right hands.
Yeah.
And there's no greater gift you can give someone than being that person and also appreciating that person.
That person always succeeds, right?
They're always welcome on a team.
We were talking before about Lucy Monroe.
Yep.
Same concept, right?
They are accelerators to the catalysts. You're right. You surround your stars with people like that.
Those are the people that bring the energy.
Yep.
Good stuff.
That's awesome.